Emily Parker always believed in helping people even when she barely had enough for herself. But nothing prepared her for the night she let a tired, overwhelmed single dad and his little girl into her apartment to escape a freezing storm. She didn't know his name. She didn't ask. She just saw fear in a father's eyes and exhaustion in the small child wrapped in his arms. By morning, they would both disappear without a goodbye. And 2 days later, Emily would walk into her company's conference room and come face to face with him again, this time sitting at the head of the table, in a $2,000 suit, being introduced as her new CEO. And he remembered everything. Before we dive into the full story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to support the channel, True Story Tales. Your support helps us share more powerful, real-life inspired stories that touch the heart. Emily Parker was 29, living alone in a small apartment on the east side of Denver. She worked as a project coordinator at a mid-sized tech company. Her life was simple: wake up early, catch the bus, work, return home, and repeat. She didn't have much, but she had a heart that saw people, truly saw them. It was the first week of January when the storm hit. Temperatures dropped below zero. Wind pushed snow sideways, making it almost impossible to walk without shielding your face. Emily had just stepped off her bus when she noticed a man sitting on a bench near the station, clutching a sleeping little girl who looked about 5 years old. His clothes were damp, his breath shaky, and he kept rubbing the girl's back to keep her warm. People walked past him quickly, too cold and too focused on getting home. But Emily stopped. "Sir," she said gently. "Are you okay?" He looked up, startled. His eyes were red, tired, almost apologetic. "We're fine," he said. "Just waiting for a ride." But Emily knew a lie when she heard one. She reached out her hand. "I live 2 blocks away. You both are freezing. Come inside for tonight. Please." The man hesitated. A father's hesitation, fear of trusting a stranger, fear of burdening someone, fear of being judged. But when the little girl whimpered from the cold, he finally nodded. Inside Emily's tiny apartment, he stayed close to the door, as if afraid he didn't belong. Emily handed him towels, warm clothes that belonged to her cousin, and a cup of hot cocoa for the child, who shyly whispered thank you. "My name's Emily," she said. He hesitated again. "Daniel," he finally answered. "And this is my daughter, Lily." She didn't press him for details. She didn't ask why he was outside in a storm with a child. She simply pointed him toward the couch and made a small bed with extra blankets. Later, when she came back from brushing her teeth, she saw something that tugged at her heart: Daniel quietly crying, thinking she wouldn't notice. Lily was asleep in his lap, and he was brushing her hair back gently, trying to muffle the sound of his sobs. Emily pretended not to see. She knew dignity mattered. That night, Daniel barely slept. Every time Emily checked on them, he was awake, staring at his daughter like he was afraid she might disappear. The next morning, he left early, leaving a note on the counter. "Thank you. I won't forget this. Daniel." Emily didn't think she'd ever see him again. 2 days later, she walked into work expecting a normal morning. Instead, the atmosphere buzzed whispers, excitement, people straightening their clothes. The company had been acquired, and today they were meeting the new CEO. Emily stood in the back of the conference room, holding her coffee, ready to tune out the fancy corporate speech. Then the door opened. And there he was. Clean-shaven. Wearing an expensive suit. Standing tall with confidence. Daniel. He froze for half a second when he saw her, just long enough for Emily to feel her heart drop. Did he think she'd expose him? Embarrass him? He recovered quickly and greeted the room professionally, but every so often, his eyes drifted toward her, softening. After the meeting ended, Emily tried to slip away unnoticed, but Daniel caught up to her. "Emily," he said quietly. She turned, unsure if she was in trouble, unsure if he wanted to keep last night's story a secret. "Can we talk?" He guided her into a side office and shut the door gently. "I didn't expect to see you here," he said with a shaky laugh. I owe you. I owe you more than you know." Emily shook her head.
You don't owe me anything. You looked like you needed help. Daniel sat down and took a breath. A week ago, everything that could go wrong, did.
I took over this company, but my personal life was falling apart.
My wife passed away last year.
I've been struggling to raise Lily alone while juggling work, travel, everything.
I thought I could manage. I thought I had to be strong all the time. He looked down. But that night, I failed.
I had no hotel, my wallet was stolen at the airport, my phone was dead, and I was too embarrassed to ask anyone for help.
His voice cracked. You didn't ask questions. You didn't make me feel like a burden. You saved us that night.
Emily felt tears build in her eyes, but she held them back. I just did what anyone should do, she said softly.
Daniel shook his head. Most people walked right past me. The room went silent for a moment.
Then he said something that surprised her even more.
I want you on my leadership team. Emily blinked. Me? I'm just a coordinator.
You're the kind of person any company needs, he said firmly.
Someone who sees people. Someone with heart. I've read your work, your project notes. You've been overlooked here for a long time. That changes now. It didn't happen all at once, of course.
Emily doubted herself, wondered if he was offering out of gratitude rather than merit. But Daniel never treated her like a charity case. He gave her real responsibilities, real challenges, real trust.
Over the next few months, Emily and Daniel worked closely.
She discovered he was thoughtful, patient, and deeply devoted to his daughter. Lily adored Emily, often running to her office with drawings that earned a place on Emily's bulletin board. Some co-workers whispered rumors, assuming something romantic was happening. Emily tried to ignore the gossip. Daniel did too. But kindness has a way of creating unexpected connections. One evening, after a long meeting, Daniel hesitated at her office door. I want to show you something, he said. He led her to the rooftop of the building where the city lights glowed beneath a clear spring sky. Lily was there too, holding a little handmade card. For you, Lily said shyly. Emily knelt and opened it. Inside was a child's drawing, 3 people holding hands. One tall figure, one small, and one with curly hair like Emily's. You're part of our family, Lily said simply. Emily's breath caught. Daniel stepped closer. I didn't plan for any of this, he said softly. But you've changed our lives. You've changed my life. Tears finally slipped down Emily's cheeks. Daniel gently brushed one away. Kindness brought us together, he whispered. And I don't ever want to lose what we have. Not as CEO and employee. As 2 people who found each other when we needed it most. Emily didn't know what the future looked like, not exactly. They were careful, patient, respectful of boundaries. But something real, gentle, and steady began between them. A bond built on kindness, not convenience. A connection formed not from power, but from compassion. Months later, at a summer company picnic, Emily watched Daniel chase Lily across the grass, laughing freely, looking lighter than she'd ever seen him. When he returned, slightly out of breath, he sat next to her on the blanket. You saved me, he said quietly, so only she could hear. And not just that night. Every day after. Emily squeezed his hand, warmth spreading through her chest. You saved me too. And in that moment, Emily realized something. Kindness doesn't just change the world in grand gestures. Sometimes it changes lives in one freezing night. One open door. One simple act that says, you are not alone. In a world where people rush from one obligation to another, it's easy to overlook those who are quietly drowning. Emily didn't have much, but she had compassion, and it transformed not just Daniel's life, but her own. Kindness doesn't need perfect timing or perfect conditions. It only needs a willing heart. If this story touched you, let it inspire you to look around today. Someone near you might need a little warmth, a gentle word, or a moment of understanding. Kindness may not always return in the way you expect. But it always returns in the way you need.